Hello everybody, welcome back to Fanblade. I certainly hope that you enjoyed my month off just as much as I enjoyed my month off. I did do some recording, I got together with some friends of mine and we wrote a bunch of things and we got a result. There's a link to it in the description. It's a little bit different to the sort of things that I would normally come up with by myself, but you know, that's what happens when you're working with other people. They'll give you ideas you would never have thought of. So, you know, it's a cool little record. I'm very proud of it. Link in the description. Now, if you recorded anything for the February recording challenge, please put a link in the comments. We all want to hear what you've done. I want to hear what you did. Genuinely, I'm interested, because this is why we do all of this. This is why we care about instruments and we care about music, is because we like playing it. So, show me what you played. It's the best comment you could ever leave. Now, this weirdo. At a casual glance, this thing looks a lot like an Aria Pro II Cardinal bass. It is an Aria Pro II. It is not a Cardinal bass, though. In fact, there is a bit of a mystery as to what this actually is, because every single thing about it isn't quite right. The original Japanese-made Cardinal series had a pickup that was basically a split coil in one housing. There was a deluxe series that had two of them, and for a while I thought that this bass may have been a deluxe series that had simply had those two pickups removed and then been routed out for a couple of Music Man style pickups. Now that is not what's happened here. There is no evidence of this thing having been cut out, although we may find something interesting when we actually take this apart and see what's inside it. The original series also had a much different bridge to this. This is kind of very similar to a bridge that was on the Fernandez Explorer with the square saddles, so I believed that this might have been a replacement bridge. Also, the original Cardinal series did not have this German carve around here. All it had was just a basic bevel around the edge. Nothing about this is normal. Now, I already knew that it wasn't made in Japan because it's stamped on the back of the neck, made in Korea. That's a bit of a giveaway. From what I have been able to find out, I believe these were made in the Samick factory, Samick being a brand which I believe is very unfairly maligned. I think Samick have an undeserved reputation for being a bit rubbish. I think they're actually pretty good. In my experience with them, they've always been perfectly adequate, if not actually really enjoyable to play. So that's a thumbs up for Samick. The headstock on this one is a little bit of an anomaly as well. On the very earliest Aria Pro IIs that came out, the logo actually said the Aria Pro II, and the whole thing was extended out a lot longer, and there's a fancy little cutout where that little scroll is. That design went away pretty quickly to be replaced by a slightly shorter, sort of slightly stumpier one, which I think actually looks a little bit better, if I'm being perfectly honest. But that one, crucially, had these little sticky-outy bits that come out right at the base of the headstock. I look for clues that that's been shaved down and then refinished. There are none. This is exactly stock as it came from the factory, so whether or not this is a prototype or something, I just don't know. Except I have found a few clues. I did a massive amount of scrolling through page after page after page of Google search results trying to find anything that looks even remotely similar to this, and I come up with two and a half results. So the first one was a bass that I saw listed. It's an Aria Pro. The serial number began S98. It's got exactly the same bridge as this one, and it's also got Made in Korea stamped on the back of the neck. So that's a clue. We have the similar bridge, and then we have that marking on the back of the neck. Then I found the second clue. Somebody was asking for information about this bass. Suddenly we have the same pickups and the same bridge on a bass that was listed as having a serial number beginning with S99, meaning Samick Factory 1999. So now we're getting somewhere. We have an S98 with that bridge, an S99 with this bridge, and this one's serial number S00, meaning that it was made in the Samick factory in the year 2000. So I'm prepared to call that mystery solved. It is a Samick-made Aria Pro II from the year 2000, using stock hardware that they were using at that time, and it's somewhat less exciting than when it was a whole mystery. It is what it is. Now, they can't have made very many of these. As I said, there is not a single other photo that I can find of this exact base. Is it a prototype? Maybe. Did they make a small batch and no one wanted them? Quite possibly. Why didn't they want them? Well, nostalgia is a thing, and the original Cardinal series had only been discontinued for about 12 years when this one came along. So that's not enough time for the sort of the cachet of nostalgic coolness to make people want something. At the time, it would have just been seen as an old hat throwback. No one wanted it. So hence, there just aren't that many of this particular one. But I've got one. Let's take it to bits and see how well they built it. Now, you will note there is a strap button right there. That's a really dumb place for it. I don't like that. I'm going to stick it up here. This thing does have a tendency to do a little bit of neck dive, just a little bit, but that'll take care of that. And the neck pocket's a bit loose. Also, we've got threading into the body, sort of. I can open those holes up a little bit. Right, what do we see? We see a shim, and that's basswood. That is 100% basswood. Soft as cheese. Yep, that's not great. The original ones are made of ash. That's disappointing. What about these pickups then? Now, this one does, of course, have a fairly significant electrical problem, in that this is supposed to be volume tone. That volume knob is just free spinning. That's not doing anything. So we're going to completely strip out the electronics and rebuild them. In fact, I've got a wiring harness, which I'll show you in a minute. But first of all, we'll take a look at these pickups and see if these are anything. Interesting. There's quite a lot of, looks like silicon goo on there. Ceramic magnets, looks like there's some grounding tape in there. I wonder if that's a quad or a dual coil coming out of there. We might be able to do something interesting with coil tapping these, or sorry, coil splitting these, I should say. They're a nice tight fit. It's a very precisely routed cavity. Bodes well. And that one's, yeah, it's exactly the same. The white and the not white, of course, will indicate the polarity of the magnet, so these will be true humbucking, as they should be. I'm just going to take the bridge off, just basically out of curiosity. There's no real reason to have a look here. There will be no secrets underneath. I was kind of hoping that if this thing had been modified, then we might find a clue under here that the old bridge might have left some holes behind. But I doubt we'll find anything interesting, and I'm going to prove it by pointlessly taking the bridge off. Nothing interesting at all. It's quite heavy though. That's got quite a lot of weight to it. That actually bodes well, because the one thing you don't want on a basswood body is a lightweight bridge. That's just a recipe for terribleness. That's probably going to be okay. That might actually be a 4-core wire, which means we might actually be able to do some coil tapping. Right. Anyway, all of these electronics are going to have to come out. I'll probably keep the output jack, but everything else is coming out because I'm putting something better in. The shafts of most pots shouldn't usually do that unless they're switching. This one's not switching. In fact, in its current state, it's not even a functioning pot anymore, so we'll get rid of that. Right, so what's going in? Well, take a look at this. Regular viewers will remember this from a couple of months ago, did a video about this bass. It's another Aria II Pro, a much more modern one. Pretty underwhelming pickups, but the one thing that it has going for it is that it's got a master volume and a blend knob. Now, I've got plans for this one. I've got a much nicer pickup, and I've got a fair amount of electronic trickery that I want to stick in this thing. I won't be needing this wiring harness, and it's perfect for going in the one that we're working on today. So I'm going to steal the wiring out of here, chuck it in that one, and that should be enough to get that one going. Then we can see what, if anything, these pickups actually do. Here it is in all of its deep red glory. I really love the way this thing looks. That's about all that I love about it at the moment, but we've got solutions to a couple of the problems which I'll run you through. First of all, it's a lot more neck heavy than I gave it credit for. I'll just move the strap button up there. That'll alleviate that problem somewhat. The other issues is, the pickups are okay, but they're only okay. If I play you the neck pickup, that's okay, that's a useful sound. Both pickups together. Again, that's a useful tone. You can do something with that. The bridge pickup by itself, this is where it all falls apart. I mean, if you're in a Korn tribute band, you might find a use for a tone like that, but sorry, that's just no good on its own. There are solutions to all of these problems. So, obviously, strap button. Then I want to raise the bridge pickup up a little bit, get it a little bit closer to the strings. I believe that'll give it a bit more volume and a bit more sort of girth tone-wise. Also, these strings, they're the ones that were on it when I bought it, when it arrived. I reused them because I thought they had a bit of life left in them. They felt relatively new, and I didn't recognise them as being the awful cheap ones. but they are awful cheap ones that are masquerading as not wolf in sheep's clothing, so to speak. Now, when you're putting strings on a short scale bass, you really want some nice thick chunky ones, because they're going to hold more tension, because otherwise they can get quite floppy. I mean, I can bend these like nearly a full tone. You can do some crazy stuff with that. Bend them right off the fingerboard. They're too loose. So the only short scale strings that I have on hand are a set of flat wounds, which will probably... I think that's going to solve a couple of the issues. I think it's still going to sound great through the neck pickup. It'll probably improve the bridge pickup, plus raise that up. They'll definitely be holding more tension, so they'll probably feel a lot less floppy to play. That's the easiest solution for me, because I have them like on hand. I don't have to go to the shop and buy anything. So I'm going to try a set of flat wounds on this and see if they're any good. And we're back. Mods made. It is still just a tiny little bit of neck dive, but it's a lot better than it was. It's the littlest bit of pressure and maybe a slightly wider strap, and it'll just hang exactly where I want it. The back pickup is raised a little bit, and of course these strings just seem to have a lot more oomph to them. So yeah, check this out. Neck pickup. Both pickups together. It's not as scooped as I thought it would be. There's quite a lot of mid-range there still. And of course, the bridge pickup, raised slightly and with some better strings. That's a lot better than it was. I really like it now. I didn't like it very much before, but that was more due to the strings than anything else. So, yes. What's that? In the distance. I can hear drumming. So I suppose that's that, really. It's quite a good little bass. It's fairly unique. I'm not going to say whether or not I recommend it, because your chances of coming across one of these in the wild are practically nil. If you do happen to see one, then let me know. Or buy it, and then let me know. It'd be interesting to try and get a reading on how many of these are actually out there in the wild, because I suspect not that many. I suppose the next logical step is to get a genuine vintage Cardinal, so that I can compare the two. It might take me a few weeks to get that together, so yes, like I need an excuse to go shopping again. But in the meantime, though, thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for subscribing, and I'll see you really soon. Cheers.